Good morning. This is the first of Coffee in Christ. A new take on the similar theme, the similar idea that we were doing with Coffee and the Word, only the idea within this one is to really try and see Christ in everything, everywhere around us. And yes, there will be coffee. Somebody once said they didn't know if I was actually drinking coffee in these. I am. I almost always have a cup of coffee with me. There's something strange that our minds do. You can hear thousands of words in a single day. Kind words, passing words, forgettable words. Somehow it's one sentence that kind of sticks with us. It's very rarely the compliment or the encouragement, and it's not often the moment somebody believed in you and let you know. It's usually a line that you wish you could forget. And long after the conversation's over, hours, days, weeks even, sometimes years, you find yourself replaying it in your head. You replay it while you're driving. You replay it while you're in the kitchen doing dishes. You replay it while you're attempting to fall asleep, or you're in the shower having those shower arguments. You replay it when everything in life seems to be going well. And it shows up uninvited. That's because we tend to replay words. And more often than not, we find ourselves replaying the ones that hurt. I learned this early. When I was a teenager, I worked at an amazing coffee place called The Coffee Cup. It was in Pittsburgh, and on the weekends, they would have live music. Friday nights, they would generally have a group or a singer or a band or somebody come in. And then Saturday nights, especially early on, were reserved for open mic nights. And I loved music. Like, music for about 2 years was all that mattered to me. I was going to be a rock star. I was going to be amazing. I loved getting to play. I played bongos. I got to write my own music. I was in a duo called Two Tone Joey, and we wrote an amazing song called Dear Mr. President. I loved the feeling that this was something I could do. And one day, there was a guy there. I can't recall his name. I don't even necessarily remember what he looked like. He was kind of a regular, but kind of not. And he made a comment that the only reason I got to play as much, because I played bongos and percussion, and I generally played with whoever wanted that during open mic nights. But the only reason I got to do that was because of proximity. Not because I had something special. Not because I was good. And mind you, I look back and I was pretty good. But because of who I knew, being close with the owners, I had that opportunity more than other people. And I don't necessarily think they meant to hurt me, but man, did it hurt. Once those words landed, they didn't leave. Every time anything happened, if I messed up a song, or if I just felt that I wasn't hitting the notes like I should be, those words were right there in the back of my head whispering, see, they were right. It was because of you. You're not good. And here's what I've learned since then. This is 20 plus years. And be honest, occasionally that still pops in my head, but the words that we tend to replay often shape the lives that we live. They become background noise. They become a quiet soundtrack that plays beneath everything. You're not really good enough. You don't belong here. They only tolerate you. They're pretending. And sometimes the most damaging words aren't spoken by other people. They're spoken by us. Paul speaks directly in Romans 8:1 to us. Therefore, there is no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. It's a short verse, but it's a powerful one. No condemnation. Not reduced condemnation, not delayed condemnation. No. Condemnation with the fine print. None. Which means that when condemning words are played on repeat, we have to stop and ask the most important question. Who is actually speaking right now? Because if the voice that you're replaying sounds nothing like Christ, it probably isn't him. Jesus was very honest, but he often wasn't condemning. He would correct people and lead people to the right direction, but he didn't really crush people. He would name the sin, but he left room for the grace and the growth and the redemption. When people walked away from Jesus, they didn't leave thinking, I'm worthless. They left thinking, something needs to change. Somehow I believe it can. That is the voice of the Christ within you. And yet many of us are still living under Jesus's words, we're still living under words that Jesus has already laid to rest. Words spoken over a younger version of you. Words spoken in ignorance. Words that may have spoken very casually that landed quite heavily. Words that were never meant to define you as who you are, but they still do. Some of us are still replaying things that Jesus has already forgiven, still giving authority to voices that were never meant to lead us on. So here's the shift. Instead of sitting there asking, why can't I stop thinking about this? And like I said, it's been over 20 years and I still think of that guy saying that to me. Ask, and instead, why am I allowing this voice to lead me? Because voices only shape us when we let them. So, here's a simple practice for this week. The next time one of those replays starts to happen, ask 2 questions. Is this voice leading me towards Christ or away from him? And then what would Jesus say to someone he loved? If the answer is no, then maybe it's time to stop pressing play on that video, that memory, that idea. Because the most important voice in your life needs to be the one who says, you are forgiven, you are not finished, you are okay. Follow me. That is the voice worth replaying. Pay attention to the words that surface when things get quiet. And when they do, ask yourself, is Christ the one speaking, or is it a voice that I've grown used to hearing? Because what you replay eventually becomes what you believe, and Jesus has already spoken a better word. For the Lily's Chapel Church of Christ, this has been Coffee and Christ.